Hi guys, welcome back. This is going to be a tarot card reading, synchronized to find you exactly when it needs to, assuming of course it is for you, and the algorithm hasn't screwed up. YouTube makes mistakes, but the universe doesn't. Today's reading prompt comes from Death is No Obstacle, a collection of interviews with the fantasy sci-fi writer Michael Moorcock. And Moorcock's quote here is, "My wife was asking me the other day why I spent so much time getting the details of a precise historical moment absolutely right when I was going to go and set an Egyptian temple high in the Atlas Mountains, which it could never be." And I said, that's why. There comes a point which you have to make the jump up to the imaginary. Up till then, everything has to be exactly, absolutely ordinary. I read that as the difference between fantasy and reality. Maybe some people are living in a fantasy. Maybe you have something about your life that you're being kind of unreasonable for. So your snapshot card, the first card in the reading, is the Eight of Wands. Now this is where you're at in the present. I always like to read this card as like the cavalry coming in. You know, you ever watch those old cowboy movies where the heroes are in a bind and hey, it's do or die, and Deus Ex Machina, the American cavalry shows up and saves everybody. I don't think I've ever actually seen that happen in a movie before, but I've heard the trope enough to know it exists. But this is kind of where you're at. These wands themselves are a manifestation of willpower. So it's like you're having this huge influx of willpower right now. You're summing up the willpower to sort of stamp that wand into the earth. But the biggest influence on you right now is the Page of Pentacles. We actually got this card yesterday. Now, the Page of Pentacles is basically what I just said. It's the guy rolling up his sleeves and putting his hands in the dirt for the first time. It's the initiate. The wand represents will. The pentacle represents the physical reality, the web of interconnectedness. And like I said, the page is the initiate. See him touching the orb or the disc. I call it an orb because it looks like a Dragon Ball to me. But he's holding it up and he's examining it. He's like, wow, this thing's amazing. He's seeing his effect on the world for the first time. He's realizing how capable he is of, affecting change in the real world. And right now, you're in a state where you're realizing just how much power and agency you wield in the space around you, how capable you are of affecting change in your own life. But what's your mind? The mind was the Queen of Swords, talking about the suits. The wand is willpower. The pentacle is the physical world. The sword is the mind. It's the thing that cuts through the BS. So your mind is on your mind. The Queen of Swords is like different from the King of Swords. The King of Swords is the actual act, the physical thing being done. And the Queen of Swords is like the waiting, the gestation period between doing the thing and reaping the benefits, So the fact that on your mind is the queen of the mind, it's your computer is still analyzing, is still spinning, is still collating data. You haven't spat out an answer yet, but you're thinking. And sometimes it can be kind of dangerous thinking about thinking. It's kind of like holding a microphone up to a speaker. Sometimes it can cause a little bit of feedback. So that's your conscious mind. What's going on with your unconscious mind? Your unconscious mind was judgment. Naked people. You see this angel blowing a horn, resurrecting all these people from a grave. It makes me think you've got something sort of buried under the surface that you haven't dealt with yet. So kind of like in the Queen of Swords, you're asking your mind, how do we go about doing a thing? How do we go about thinking about this? That's your conscious mind. And your unconscious mind is saying, it's not up here, it's in here, it's in here. There's something buried that, again, we talk about the idea of like rolling up your sleeves and digging up the dirt. Maybe what you're digging up is something that you buried a long time ago. She's resurrecting the dead, and the book we read from was Death is No Obstacle. So maybe there is something in there about you you digging up something deep within yourself, and you've decided, maybe that's that willpower is, you've decided, I'm going to bring this thing back to life. You're making the decision, you're going to get that engine running again, and you don't care how much time, energy, or effort it costs. You're going to do a thing. You're going to resurrect something from the dead. But how did you get to this place? That's the past. And that's the Eight of Pentacles. So again, you got two eights. Same thing happened in yesterday's video. We kept getting the same numbers, but it was the Swords and Pentacles last time. But so you're getting Wands and Pentacles this time. And so you've got the Eight of Wands and the Eight of Pentacles. What this card represents is, it's the dude doing the thing. It's the guy, this is the guy that clocks in at 9, clocks out at 5, shows up 5 days a week, doesn't miss a day, and just does the thing, contributing. And slowly but surely, his discs are stacking up. His bank account is stacking up too. And maybe that's what's going on with you right now. This is your past. Maybe you've been doing the work. You've been showing up every day. You've earned a free day. You've earned extra time. You've accrued enough money, enough disposable resources, money, time. You're in a state now where maybe kind of like, well, now I can do something I actually want. Maybe I work at this job. Maybe I don't love this job, but now I've saved up enough money that I can maybe go get that old car fixed up. Maybe your dad's like my dad, had a super cool Cadillac sitting in the basement of grandma's house for the entirety of your life, and one day, you or your brothers are going to pull that thing out and fix it up and get it running again, because that's what dad always wanted. And maybe right now you're kind of understanding you have those resources right now to do the thing you want to do. I think that's what you're dealing with, is you've always wanted to do, you haven't felt like you could do it. So you just kind of, you've been going about your business. You've been but by going about your business, you've acquired the resources to, do the thing that used to be impossible. Maybe you're asking yourself, at this job I don't much care for, I've done really difficult things. Maybe that means I have it within me to actually do the thing I want to go do. I might actually be able to get this. I may be more capable than I thought I was. Now, that was your past. Future is Temperance. Now, it's interesting. We got two angels. You got the angel resurrecting the dead, and then you got the angel messing with the cups. Now, the cups represent emotion, and you see this angel mixing and matching, kind of like a scientist, the two beakers, mixing them like you see in an old sci-fi movie. I always think of this card, I've heard this card referred to as art. I think of it as creative endeavor. So it's like, so far in this reading, if you follow this, it could be someone who goes to work every day, makes money, and now has the resources and the time to do the thing they actually want to do. And the future card is you doing the thing. That thing that has to do with your emotion, the thing you want to do. And it doesn't have to be like artistically creative. We don't all have to be writers and poets and artists. You could be kind of like me. You could have that creative expression that's like your yard, mowing the grass, planting a garden, building a trellis. Those are things that for me, don't necessarily read as artistic, but they are an expression of, you take your inside and you make it the outside. You make the outside of your house represent how you feel about yourself and about the house itself. But that is an artistic expression. Like I said, fixing up a car, learning a new skill. Maybe you always wanted to get really good at drawing, or you always wanted to learn how to play golf, and now you're like, oh, I have the time and the resources to actually do the thing that I want to do. You got a little something extra. You've been working hard, and you've got a little something extra that you can spend on feeding, your soul. Maybe it's not for anybody but you, but honestly, this reading seems like you don't necessarily need to make it a thing for everybody. It just needs to be something for you. Now, what does your heart say about all that? And your heart is the Magician card. The Magician is the master of all things. He's a jack of all trades. He's the master of all of them. He's got all 4 suits on his altar. And you can see on the card, he's raising his magical wand to heaven, calling down the energy of the gods, and he's pointing his hand down, making things happen. It's like he's holding the lightning rod in the hand. He's taking the power, the fire of the gods, and he's directing where it needs to go. He's making things. He's taking things out of the air and making things. Again, feels like a creative concept to me. But again, your heart is the magician. You have what it takes to do that. Now, the world, your position, the card that's in your world position is the 4 of Swords. This is one of my personal favorite cards because I got this card on the first tarot card reading I ever got when I was a young guy. But you look at it, it looks like he's dead, like he's interred on an altar, but he's not. He's just resting. He's laid down his sword in a quiet church, and he's just, it's the breath, Maybe that's what the world looks to you right now, The pressure cooker has been turned off. The lid has been lifted, Oh my gosh, it's I can sit down for 5 minutes. I can relax, I can not focus so hard on the grind, I can focus on this sigh, this relax. The pressure cooker's done, the thing's cooked, And now you got a little something extra that you can, something for me. And that thing is that we've been talking about, this thing you want to do, this thing that you think you have an opportunity to do. Now that you've done all your homework, you've cleaned your room, you've painted the garage, you've got a little extra time left on Sunday. If you just want to lay down, and rest, that's good too. Put on your own oxygen mask before you take care of anybody else's. Maybe you just need to lay down for a little bit. Whatever this thing is you want to do over the next couple of days, it's going to be a relaxing thing. It's going to be, that unclenches your jaw, relaxes your muscles, just lets you, okay, just going to put you in a better mood if nothing else. Now, your hopes and fears at the moment, the Knight of Swords. Now, the Knight is different from the Queen because the Knight's energy is like bombastic. Like the King, you got a lot of energy, but it's not directional like the King. The King is getting shit done. The Knight is just running around. He's not in charge. He's not. The King has the aspect of the Queen that he knows what he's doing. He's got but these guys are so keyed up, they just run around and they don't always get a whole lot accomplished. That's what your hope and fear is. But the fact that it's the Knight of Swords means that it's mental energy that's got you worried. Let's combine this whole thing and say, let's. You did the work. You've earned some free time. You've got some disposable income, and you're afraid that you're going to screw it up. That you're going to come away from it from the end of this weekend, and you'll go, God, I should have spent it doing this or doing that, or just laying down and resting. But I let my brain run away with me, and I ended up not taking the rest I needed. So that's the hope and fear card. That's the thing you're worried about. The mental energy isn't going to let you sit down and rest. But you've got to. The world was the 4 of Swords, so take this reading as a confirmation that the world has made the bed for you. It's put clean sheets on the bed. It's fluffed your pillow. The universe is giving you permission to just sit down for 5 minutes. To rest on Sunday. Even God rested one day a week. Take a day. And don't let your mind scare you into running around and doing a bunch of stuff that doesn't actually need to get done right now. And if we can tie it back to our original reading about fantasy versus reality, maybe you have unrealistic expectations about what you're going to be able to get accomplished this weekend. When maybe you think you're going to be able to mow the lawn, paint the garage, all this stuff, when maybe all you really are zoned to do, maybe you're just that tired, all you're really zoned to do is rest. And maybe that willpower that came in at the start of the reading is the willpower to take a break. It's to be in charge of yourself and say, look yourself in the mirror and say, guy, you've had enough. You need a break. You could stand to just chill for a little bit, maybe. But the final card of the reading is the Empress. Now, see, you can see she's hanging out in a field of wheat. It's kind of unkempt, and it's very Earth Mother energy, but it's also a yard that has yet to be mowed. You know, yesterday we got the Nine of Pentacles, and it has kind of similar energy. It's a woman in a field. There's fruit growing behind her. She's got a hawk on her arm. She's like, that card is like a job well done. This is not that. This is the same relaxed, accomplished energy, but this isn't relaxing after you've accomplished your goals. This is learning to relax in the thing, you know, letting things be where they are right now. Maybe the thing is, maybe the things you want done haven't gotten done yet. And maybe you're the kind of person that can't relax unless they've done all their homework, unless they've cleaned the kitchen, they've made the kids lunch, they've mowed the lawn, you know, they've changed the oil in the car, and then you can finally rest. But you'll never be done. So sometimes you just have to call a timeout. You just have to say, you know, I'm laying down for today. You know, you just have to call, you know, and the world, it wants that for you. It's okay with you relaxing. So let yourself off the hook. You know, you can just stop. Maybe you can just stop whatever you're doing right now, even if it's just for the next 5 minutes. Maybe you don't have a whole day. Maybe you don't have a whole weekend. Just take the next, you're listening to this video, you're not doing anything right now, hit pause, stop watching, and just relax. And accept the fact that maybe, you know, you have an overestimation of what you're capable of doing. You're kind of living in a fantasy world about how much you're actually going to be able to get done. And just kind of that willpower, you know, going through the whole thing, you know, the willpower is that you need to exert the willpower over yourself to just calm down, you know, to just stop and take a breath, even if it's just for the next 5 minutes. You know, you have to take care of you before you can take care of anybody else. You know, don't think about the million other things you have to do right now. Again, the past shows you've done the work. You know, you've put the time in. You've earned the disposable income. You've earned a free day. You've earned 5 seconds to yourself. You know, and you need to exert the willpower to take a break. You know, don't let your mind run away with you. Don't let it your mind nag at you, make you think you can't afford to. You know, you are. You know what you can do, and you can lay down and die. The trumpet will wake you up. The alarm will wake you up on Monday. But thank you so much for listening, guys. I love you. Take care of yourselves, and be sure to take care of each other. Thanks. Bye.